The ocean on the distant planet of Thalassa stretched endlessly, a living mosaic of violet and green, each wave shimmering under the twin suns. Captain Leora Reyes stood at the railing of the human exploration ship Aurora's Edge, her eyes tracing the horizon where the tides moved in strange, hypnotic patterns. The crew had been monitoring this planet for weeks, fascinated by its alien currents and bioluminescent seas. Nothing about Thalassa behaved like Earth, but nothing had prepared them for what appeared on that quiet morning. A dark silhouette moved against the tide. It was unmistakably a ship, yet utterly unlike anything the crew had seen. Its sails were massive, though tattered, catching no wind. The hull was ancient, carved from wood-like material that glimmered faintly as if alive. Sensors struggled to read the structure, bouncing odd energy readings back to the ship. The galleon moved as if guided by an invisible hand, cutting smoothly against the current. "Captain," Lieutenant Soren called, pointing to the view screen. "You're not seeing this. The ship is moving on its own. There's no propulsion system we can detect." Leora felt her pulse quicken. She had seen many strange phenomena in her career, but nothing like this. The galleon moved with purpose, almost as if it had a destination. Slowly, almost gracefully, it turned, steering directly toward a gathering storm on the horizon. "Prepare a boarding team," Leora ordered, her voice calm despite the excitement and fear she felt inside. "We need to know what we're dealing with." The crew moved quickly, their training kicking in. Soren tapped commands into the console, scanning for life forms, propulsion systems, anything that could explain the ship's motion. The readings came back empty. It was as if the galleon existed outside the laws of physics. "Sensors show no engines, no energy source," Soren reported, his brow furrowed. "But it's almost like it's alive." The idea made the hair on the back of Leora's neck rise. Alive? Could an object this old, this alien, actually be sentient? She couldn't deny the sense that the ship seemed aware of them. "Whatever it is, it's moving on purpose," she said. "Get the shuttle ready. We're going in." As the small shuttle approached the galleon, the storm in the distance rumbled louder. Lightning danced across the violet clouds, illuminating the ship in brief, blinding flashes. The shuttle's sensors picked up subtle energy waves emanating from the galleon's hull. The readings were unlike anything Soren had ever seen. "Captain, the ship is responding to us," Soren said, awe in his voice. "It's changing direction slightly, aligning itself with the shuttle." Leora's eyes narrowed. "It knows we're coming." The shuttle landed gently on the deck. The wood beneath their boots was strangely warm, pulsing faintly with life. The air smelled faintly of salt and something else, something ancient and metallic, yet organic. The crew moved cautiously, weapons at the ready, though none expected to fire them. The galleon's interior was a marvel. It had remained perfectly preserved despite its age. Carved panels adorned the walls, showing scenes of a civilization long gone. Humans, aliens, and strange beings unknown to them, all interacting in harmony. The glow from the panels illuminated a compass on the main deck, but it did not point north. Instead, it spun gently, then fixed on a direction that made no sense in their charts. "This is incredible," whispered Dr. Kale, the ship's historian, as he traced the symbols on the wall. "These carvings, they're like nothing in our records, but they feel familiar, somehow, as if our species is part of this story." Leora's attention was drawn to the symbols etched into the galleon's rails. She reached out, brushing her hand against them. The symbols shifted, subtly rearranging themselves as if reacting to her touch. A warm hum filled the air, vibrating through her body. "It's alive," she breathed. The realization sent shivers down her spine. This ship, it's not just a vessel. It's a consciousness. Soren looked uneasy. "Captain, if that's true, then approaching it could be dangerous. We don't know its intentions." Leora nodded but did not step back. "We have to try. Humanity exists because we take risks. If this ship is intelligent, it could be a bridge to knowledge we've never imagined." The galleon suddenly moved, sliding across the water without wind or current. It led the shuttle toward the storm. The crew exchanged nervous glances. This was no ordinary storm. It crackled with strange energy, sending arcs of violet lightning across the sky. The galleon didn't seem afraid. It moved steadily, almost inviting them forward. "Captain, sensors are picking up energy surges in the storm," Soren warned. "If we follow, we could be destroyed." Leora gripped the railing. "Or, we could discover something incredible. Prepare for full shields. But keep the course. We're going in." As the storm enveloped them, the galleon guided the shuttle through twisting waves and energy bursts. The currents tried to push them back, but the ship seemed to know every movement, every obstacle. The crew felt the galleon's awareness. Subtle, but undeniable. It was testing them, leading them deeper into danger to see how they would respond. The air inside the galleon vibrated with low tones, almost like whispers. The crew couldn't make out words, but the sound carried meaning, a silent communication that made their minds race. Dr. KL stepped forward, touching one of the glowing charts. The chart shimmered and shifted, revealing a star map unlike any they had seen. Lines connected distant systems, and symbols glowed at certain points. "This map," Kale murmured. "It's a guide. To somewhere. Or something. But I don't understand it fully." "Fode," Leora studied it. "It's showing us a path. The ship wants us to follow. Whatever it is, it wants to take us somewhere." Soren's voice was cautious. "Captain, do we know if that's safe? This could be a trap." Leora looked at the storm raging outside and then at the galleon, which glided effortlessly through the chaos. She felt a strange sense of trust, as if the ship itself had chosen her crew. "We don't know. But humanity never achieved greatness by avoiding the unknown. We follow." Lightning struck close to the shuttle, throwing it against the deck, but the galleon adjusted instantly, shielding them as if it knew the danger before it happened. The crew's fear slowly transformed into awe. They realized the ship was not only alive, but intelligent, aware, and perhaps benevolent. Hours passed, though the storm seemed eternal. The galleon guided them skillfully, avoiding the most dangerous energy surges. Occasionally, the whispers inside the galleon would grow louder, resonating with their minds, pushing them to cooperate, to think creatively, to act as a unit rather than individuals. Leora watched her crew closely. The challenges were subtle, testing their courage, patience, and ingenuity. It was as if the galleon wanted to see what humanity was truly capable of. Finally, the storm began to calm. The sky lightened, and the violent currents became gentle ripples. The galleon floated silently, almost resting, as if it were satisfied with their performance. The crew exhaled, their nerves exhausted but their spirits lifted. "Captain," Soren said softly, "that was unlike anything I've ever experienced. The ship, it's more than a vessel, it's a living entity." Leora nodded. "Yes. And I believe it has chosen us for something greater. We need to understand it, learn from it, and prove ourselves worthy of its trust." Dr. Kale knelt beside one of the glowing charts, tracing a path across distant stars. "It's as if it's inviting us to follow, to a place where knowledge and power beyond our imagination await. But we have to be ready. This is only the beginning." The galleon moved again, silently, almost imperceptibly, nudging the shuttle forward. It was as if it were saying, "Follow, if you dare. The tide of fate awaits those who move against it." Leora looked at the horizon, the distant stars glimmering above the violet seas. She felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of discovery, all at once. Humanity had taken its first step toward a legacy far greater than any of them could imagine, and the galleon, ancient and silent, would be their guide. The night fell, and the twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon. The galleon glowed softly, illuminating the waters around it. The crew remained vigilant, aware that the journey ahead would be dangerous, uncertain, and filled with trials. But they were human, and humans thrived in the face of the impossible. The ancient galleon moved steadily against the tide, as if it knew exactly where it was going, and it seemed to be waiting for humanity to prove that it belonged in its grand design. The calm after the storm was deceptive. The sky above Thalassa had cleared, but the seas were still alive with a faint, eerie glow. The Aurora's edge floated silently beside the ancient galleon, its crew exhausted but filled with curiosity and awe. Captain Leora Reyes stood at the edge of the deck, staring at the glowing ship. It had moved so effortlessly through the storm, as if it were aware of every danger before it even existed. She felt a strange mixture of fear and fascination. "Captain," Lieutenant Soren said, breaking the silence, "we need to decide what to do next. The storm is over, but this ship, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Boarding it could be dangerous." Leora turned, her face set with determination. "We don't have the luxury of hesitation. Whatever this ship is, it has a purpose. And I believe that purpose involves us." The boarding team prepared to move again, cautiously stepping onto the galleon's deck. The wood beneath their feet was warm and pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. Dr. Kale, the ship's historian, ran his fingers along the carved panels, tracing the strange hieroglyphs that glowed softly in the dim light. "These symbols," Kale said, "they're not static. They change when you touch them. It's as if the ship is alive, or at least aware of our presence." Soren frowned. "Aware? Yes. But why? Why would a ship be conscious? Ships are tools, Captain. Machines." Leora shook her head. "Not this one. This is something else entirely. A ship like this. It's a guardian. Or a guide. And it chose to reveal itself to us." The interior of the galleon was unlike anything they had imagined. It was perfectly preserved, despite the centuries it must have spent adrift. Glowing charts and strange instruments lined the walls. The air smelled faintly metallic, mixed with something earthy, like a forest long forgotten. As the crew explored, the galleon seemed to respond. Hallways shifted subtly. Doors appeared where there had been none moments before, and the charts on the walls rearranged themselves as if offering guidance. Every time a crew member touched a symbol, it pulsed softly, filling the room with low hums that resonated in their minds. "This ship," Kale whispered, "it's testing us. I can feel it. It wants to know if we are worthy." Leora nodded slowly. "Then we have to show it who we are. Humanity has faced impossible odds before. We adapt. We survive. We overcome." Hours passed as the crew moved deeper into the galleon. In the heart of the ship, they discovered a chamber, unlike the others. It was vast, circular, and filled with a soft, glowing light. At the center was a pedestal with a crystalline orb, radiating energy that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. "Captain," Soren said cautiously, This is powerful. I don't know what it is, but it feels alive." Leora stepped forward, placing her hand near the orb. Instantly, her mind was filled with visions. She saw civilizations rising and falling, stars being born and dying, and a ship moving silently across the galaxies. She realized that the galleon was not just a vessel, but a repository of knowledge, a memory of an ancient civilization that had mastered the stars long before humanity existed. "It's showing us everything," Kale breathed. "The history of a species, their technology, their culture. They wanted to leave this behind, and they trusted us to find it." Soren looked uneasy. "Captain, if this is true, we need to be careful. Knowledge this advanced could be dangerous. We don't fully understand it." Leora turned to him, her eyes fierce. "We are careful, yes, but we cannot ignore it. Humanity's potential is what brought us here. The galleon saw that in us. It chose us because it recognized what we could become." As they studied the orb, the galleon shifted subtly, as if acknowledging their presence. The energy in the room grew stronger, and the whispers that had filled the ship before returned. Clearer this time. They were not words in any language, but thoughts, impressions, emotions. The galleon was communicating directly with them. Dr. Kale stepped closer to the orb, closing his eyes. Images filled his mind, vast fleets of ships, worlds connected by invisible currents of energy, and a civilization that had mastered both the physical and mental realms. They had created the galleon not only as a vessel, but as a teacher. A guide for species capable of understanding and growth. They left this for those who could prove themselves, Kale said quietly. They wanted to test intelligence, courage, and unity. This is their trial. Leora felt a deep sense of responsibility. Then we must pass it. Not for us, but for all of humanity. If we fail, we may never get another chance. The galleon seemed to respond, the lights in the chamber pulsing in time with their heartbeats. The crew realized that it was testing them, subtly setting challenges to see how they would react. The first test came in the form of a puzzle, a three-dimensional map of Thalassa's oceans, filled with glowing nodes and shifting currents. Soren frowned, studying the map. This isn't just a map. It's a code. Look at how the currents align with the nodes. It's guiding us somewhere, Kale nodded. Yes, but it's not straightforward. The map reacts to our actions. Every move we make changes the outcome. The galleon wants us to think, to work together, to understand its logic. The crew spent hours deciphering the patterns, each member contributing their expertise. Leora realized that the galleon was not only testing intelligence but also cooperation. The ship had chosen them as a unit, as a team, to see how humanity could function under pressure. Finally, after much trial and error, they unlocked the map's final sequence. A path appeared, leading to a location deep in Thalassa's northern seas, a place where the water glowed brightest and the energy was strongest. This is where it wants us to go, Leora said, her voice steady. Prepare the shuttle. We follow its guidance. The galleon moved smoothly alongside them as they descended toward the glowing waters. Strange creatures swam beneath the surface, their bodies shimmering like liquid light. The energy in the water interacted with the creatures, creating patterns that seemed almost intentional, like a display meant for observers. As they approached the destination, the water began to rise in gentle spirals, forming towers of bioluminescent energy. The galleon moved effortlessly through them, and the shuttle followed, guided by the glowing path. The crew felt a mixture of fear and wonder. They were venturing into a place that defied understanding. Yet the galleon's presence reassured them. Suddenly, the energy around them coalesced into a shape, an enormous, semi-transparent figure that seemed to watch them. The crew froze. Unsure whether it was hostile or benign, the figure pulsed with light, and the whispers in their minds grew stronger, forming coherent impressions. We observe, we test, we guide. You have come this far because you chose courage and unity. Yet the trial is not over. Leora stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. We understand. We seek knowledge, not power. We wish to learn, to grow, and to prove that humanity is worthy of guidance. The figure seemed to consider her words. Slowly, it shifted, revealing a chamber beneath the waters, a hidden space filled with artifacts, glowing instruments, and vessels that seemed capable of traveling between worlds. The galleon had led them to a repository of the ancient civilization's wisdom. This is incredible, Kale whispered. The knowledge here. It could change humanity forever, but it's also a responsibility. We must be careful. Soren nodded. Yes. We are only guests here. We must show respect, not greed. The galleon seemed to acknowledge their understanding, the whispers fading into a gentle hum. The crew realized that the ship was not merely a vessel or a repository, but a teacher. It had guided them through danger, tested their minds and hearts, and now offered them a glimpse of something far greater than themselves. Leora gazed at the artifacts, feeling the weight of the moment. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars, of discovering life and knowledge beyond Earth. Now, on Thalassa, they were witnessing the legacy of a civilization that had done precisely that, and the galleon had chosen them as its successors, or at least as students capable of learning. "This is only the beginning," Leora said quietly, more to herself than to anyone else. "We have much to learn, and much to prove. But we will not fail. Humanity never does." The galleon moved gently against the current, as if in agreement. The energy around them settled into a soft glow, casting gentle reflections across the faces of the crew. They understood now that this journey was not only about discovery, but about growth. The ship's guidance would challenge them, teach them, and prepare them for a destiny they had never imagined. As the crew settled into the chamber, studying the artifacts and instruments, they felt a sense of purpose that transcended fear. The ancient galleon had revealed itself to them, tested their courage and unity, and now offered them the chance to step into a larger story. A story that spanned stars, civilizations, and time itself. And somewhere deep in the glow of the galleon's energy, the consciousness of the ship seemed to smile, knowing that humanity was ready for the lessons ahead. The northern seas of Thalassa shimmered like liquid crystal under the twin suns. The galleon floated gracefully, its hull glowing faintly, guiding the Aurora's edge and its crew toward a place that seemed suspended between reality and something else entirely. Captain Leora Reyes stood at the deck of the shuttle, gazing at the towering columns of bioluminescent energy rising from the ocean. She could feel the power in the water, a living current that pulsed with intelligence. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts," Lieutenant Soren said, voice tight with a mixture of awe and caution. "I've never seen anything like this. If we get too close, the instruments could overload, or worse, the field could destabilize the shuttle." Leora nodded. "We'll be careful. This ship isn't leading us blindly. Trust it. It chose us for a reason." Although, with creating unrounded parted, the galleon moved ahead of them, gliding effortlessly through the energy columns. It was as if it knew exactly how to navigate the unstable currents. The shuttle followed closely, its engines humming softly against the alien rhythm of the seas. Dr. Kale, leaning over the navigation console, traced the glowing patterns on the instruments. "These energy currents, they're not random. The galleon has created a path, a corridor through the sea. But it's also a challenge. The currents shift, change, almost as if they are alive. We have to respond, adapt, or risk being swept away." The first challenge came quickly. A surge of energy erupted from the water, twisting violently and forming a vortex that threatened to pull them under. The shuttle shuddered as its shields strained against the invisible force. "Hold steady," Leora shouted. She reached out to the console, manually adjusting the trajectory, guided by instinct and the subtle hints from the galleon's movement. The crew worked in unison, following the ship's silent guidance, feeling as if it were communicating through the currents themselves. The vortex calmed as they passed, leaving a wake of glowing bubbles in its place. Soren exhaled sharply. That was close. The galleon. It knew exactly what would happen. Kale nodded. "It's testing us. Not just our skill, but our courage. It wants to see how we handle danger." For hours, the crew faced a series of obstacles, twisting energy currents, towering waves, and strange creatures that swam through the glowing waters. Some were translucent, with shapes that shifted constantly. Others had armored bodies that reflected the light of the energy columns. Each encounter tested the crew's ingenuity, teamwork, and resolve. At one point, a massive creature lunged from the depths, its body glowing with streaks of energy. The galleon moved between the creature and the shuttle, as if shielding them, its sails flaring softly with light. Leora realized the ship was not just guiding them but protecting them, teaching them the value of trust and cooperation. "It's incredible," Kale said, watching the interaction. "The galleon is alive, aware, and capable of action. It's more than a ship, It's a guardian. A mentor. Soren frowned. Or it's a test. Every move we make, every decision, it's evaluating us. We can't afford to fail. The crew pressed on, moving deeper into the northern waters. The columns of energy grew taller and more intense, forming a labyrinth of glowing towers. Leora realized that the path ahead was not just physical but mental, a series of trials designed to challenge their perception, decision-making, and courage. At the center of the labyrinth, the galleon paused. Its sails flared brightly, casting a warm light over the water. The whispers returned, stronger than ever, filling the crew's minds with impressions of ancient civilizations, interstellar travel, and unimaginable knowledge. The galleon's consciousness revealed itself more fully now, not in words, but in visions, emotions, and shared understanding. You have come far, the galleon seemed to say. You have shown courage, intelligence, and unity. Yet the final trial awaits. You must face the storm at the heart of this place. Only then will you prove humanity's worth. The storm was unlike anything they had encountered before. Energy surged violently, water twisting into spirals of pure light, and the sky above filled with flickering arcs that mirrored the currents below. The shuttle shook as Leora guided it toward the heart of the storm, following the galleon's lead. This is it, she said quietly. The final test. Everyone, stay focused. As one, the galleon surged ahead, slicing through the energy currents with precision. The crew mirrored its movements, adjusting their trajectory, anticipating the shifts in the currents, and trusting the ship's guidance. Every instinct, every skill they had honed, was being tested now. A massive wave of energy rose in front of them, threatening to engulf the shuttle. Leora took a deep breath and focused, letting the galleon's subtle cues guide her hands. The shuttle twisted, banked, and rode the edge of the wave, the energy passing harmlessly around them. The crew felt a surge of exhilaration and relief. They were alive, and they were learning. Dr. Kale whispered, awe in his voice. The galleon. It's showing us how to survive through understanding, not force. It's teaching us to think, to adapt, to grow. Hours passed as they navigated the storm. The galleon's tests became increasingly complex currents that defied physics, illusions of obstacles that vanished when approached, and energy fields that seemed to respond to thought rather than action. The crew realized that this trial was not just about survival, but about understanding the principles the ancient civilization had mastered. At one point, the shuttle was caught in a swirling vortex of energy. Leora felt panic rise, but forced herself to focus. The galleon's light flared brightly, and she understood what to do. Using a combination of instinct and observation, she maneuvered the shuttle in perfect synchronization with the galleon's movements. The vortex parted, leaving them unharmed. Soren exhaled, shaken. Captain, that was incredible. I've never felt anything like it. Leora nodded. It's not just incredible. It's human. The galleon is showing us what we can do when we work together, when we trust each other and our instincts. That's what it wants us to learn. As they approached the center of the storm, the energy columns converged, forming a towering pillar of pure light. The galleon moved into it, its sails spreading wide as it absorbed and channeled the energy. The crew watched in awe as the ship became a bridge between the physical and the energy currents, a living conduit for the ancient civilization's knowledge. The whispers in their minds became clearer, forming impressions of the galleon's purpose. We guided, we tested, we protected, we reveal only to those who prove worthy. Leora felt a deep sense of connection. We are here not by chance, but because we were ready. The galleon chose us. And now, we must complete the trial. The final test was revealed as the energy pillar pulsed violently, sending waves of force that threatened to overwhelm the shuttle. Leora and her crew worked in perfect harmony, responding to the galleon's subtle cues and using their own ingenuity to navigate the chaotic currents. It was a test of mind, skill, and unity. pushing them to the limits of endurance and perception. Dr. Kale's voice trembled with awe. This is beyond anything humanity has ever faced. But we are managing. We are proving ourselves. Soren glanced at Leora, sweat on his brow. Captain, if we succeed, what happens next? What does the galleon want from us? Leora's eyes were fixed on the glowing pillar. It doesn't want anything from us, except proof that we are capable. That we can grow, that we can learn, that we are ready to step into a larger story. The storm raged on, but the crew moved with determination. Every wave, every pulse of energy, every shifting current was met with careful observation, quick thinking, and unity. The galleon's presence guided them, but it was their courage and cooperation that carried them through. Finally, the energy pillar began to stabilize. The violent waves subsided, and the currents aligned into a calm, radiant flow. The galleon glowed softly, its sails shimmering with life. The crew realized that they had passed the trial. The storm had tested them, pushed them to their limits, and forced them to act as a unit. And they had succeeded. The whispers faded, replaced by a profound silence. The galleon's light dimmed to a steady glow, and the shuttle floated beside it. The crew exhausted, but exhilarated. They had faced the impossible and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Leora looked at her crew, pride and relief filling her chest. We did it. The trial. It's complete. The galleon has accepted us. Dr. Kale traced his fingers along the glowing symbols on the galleon's deck. It has shown us not only its knowledge, but our potential. Humanity has a place in this greater story. We are capable of greatness. Soren shook his head, still trying to process everything. And to think, it all started with a storm, and an ancient ship that moved against the tide. Who would have imagined this? The galleon moved forward, as if inviting them to follow. The northern seas glowed softly, guiding the shuttle toward unknown horizons. Leora understood that this was only the beginning. The trials had been a test, a lesson in courage, intelligence, and unity. But the journey ahead promised even greater discoveries and challenges. This is the moment we step into something bigger, Leora said quietly. The galleon has chosen us, and we will honor that choice. Humanity is ready for what lies ahead. The ancient galleon floated silently, a guardian and mentor, leading them beyond the known seas, beyond the trials, into a future filled with knowledge, wonder, and the promise of greatness. And as the twin suns of Thalassa dipped below the horizon, the crew realized that humanity had not only survived the trial, but had proven itself worthy of a legacy that spanned the stars. The northern seas of Thalassa lay calm under a twilight sky, the twin suns dipping below the horizon. The waters glowed faintly with residual energy from the trials, and the galleon floated gracefully, a living beacon in the alien world. Captain Leora Reyes stood at the deck of the shuttle, her gaze fixed on the glowing ship. Every member of the crew felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had passed the galleon's trials, navigated the storm, and demonstrated courage, intelligence, and unity. Now, the final phase awaited something beyond all their expectations. Dr. Kale leaned over the console, tracing patterns on the glowing charts. Captain, the energy readings from the galleon's core are stabilizing, he said. It's as if it's preparing for something. The entire ship, it's alive in a way we didn't fully understand until now. Soren frowned, his usual caution returning. Alive. Yes. But the energy, it's immense. If we misstep, we could be destroyed. What exactly is it preparing for? Leora didn't answer immediately. She had a sense, a deep intuition, that the galleon was about to reveal its ultimate purpose. We've come this far. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Humanity has survived impossible odds before, and we will not fail now. The galleon pulsed gently, its light extending outward in waves that rippled across the waters. Slowly, it began to descend, guiding the shuttle toward a massive formation of energy rising from the ocean depths. The formation was a vast, semi-transparent structure, glowing with patterns that mirrored the stars above. It was like a gateway, both physical and metaphysical, a bridge between the known world and something far greater. As the shuttle drew closer, the crew felt a profound sense of awe. The galleon moved confidently, leading the way. The whispers in their minds returned, more coherent than ever, filling their thoughts with impressions of purpose, guidance, and destiny. You have proven yourselves worthy. You have demonstrated courage, unity, and the ability to learn. The next step is yours, should you choose to accept it. Leora took a deep breath, standing tall. We accept. Humanity is ready to learn, to grow, and to take our place among the stars. The galleon's energy pulsed brighter, and the waters beneath them parted, revealing a vast chamber beneath the surface. The structure seemed suspended between the ocean and the sky, as if floating in a space that defied physics. Strange instruments lined the walls, and crystalline vessels hovered in the water, each radiating energy that interacted with the currents. The crew realized they had entered the heart of the ancient civilization's legacy, a repository of knowledge, technology, and wisdom. This is beyond anything humanity has ever seen, Dr. Kale whispered, eyes wide with wonder. These artifacts, they are centuries, maybe millennia ahead of our understanding. The galleon brought us here for a reason. Soren studied the glowing vessels, and it's testing us one last time. We have to prove we can comprehend, respect, and use this knowledge wisely. If we fail, all this could be lost, or worse, misused. Leora nodded. Then we focus. We learn. We show the galleon that humanity is worthy of its trust. And the galleon moved forward, entering the chamber fully. Its sails flared, casting brilliant light across the walls. The energy in the room seemed to resonate with the crew's minds, forming clear impressions of the civilization that had created this place. They had mastered energy, life, and consciousness itself. They had built the galleon not merely as a ship, but as a mentor and guide for species capable of growth and understanding. Images filled the minds of the crew fleets traveling between stars, planets linked by energy conduits, civilizations rising and falling in harmony with one another. Leora realized that the galleon was offering them a vision of what humanity could achieve if they learned, adapted, and cooperated. Dr. Kale stepped closer to one of the crystalline vessels. These are star maps. No, more than that. They are pathways, showing routes through energy flows that connect systems, even galaxies. The galleon wants us to understand this, to navigate beyond our solar system. Soren looked uneasy. Captain, this is immense. The technology, the energy, it's beyond our comprehension. How can we possibly use this without causing disaster? Leora placed a hand on the console, feeling the gentle pulse of the galleon's energy. By learning, by respecting it, humanity's potential is what brought us here. We are capable of understanding and growing. The galleon believes that too. Suddenly, the chamber vibrated, and a beam of light shot from the galleon into the largest crystalline vessel. The vessel's energy flowed outward, forming a holographic projection of the stars, galaxies, and energy currents connecting them. The crew realized this was not just a display, it was a teaching tool, a way to interact with the universe on a level they had never imagined. It's showing us how to manipulate energy, Kale whispered. Not for weapons, not for control, but for travel, for understanding, for creation. This is the culmination of everything the civilization knew. The galleon pulsed again, and the whispers returned, this time forming coherent impressions of guidance. You have learned. You have faced danger, demonstrated unity, and proven intelligence. Now you must take the knowledge and apply it. Step forward, and we will guide you beyond the seas and into the stars. Leora turned to her crew. This is it. The final step. We follow the galleon into what lies beyond. Humanity has never done this before. But we are ready. The shuttle moved forward, guided by the galleon's energy. As they passed through the gateway, the waters and skies seemed to dissolve into light. The crew felt weightless. Their senses stretched and expanded. The galleon moved seamlessly, a living bridge between the known and unknown, leading them into the vastness of space. Stars stretched infinitely around them, galaxies spinning in silent harmony. The crew gazed in awe at the cosmic spectacle, realizing that humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer confined to a single planet or solar system. They were part of a larger story, connected to the legacy of civilizations that had mastered both technology and consciousness. This is unbelievable, Soren breathed. We're in interstellar space, guided by a living ship that has chosen us. Dr. Kale nodded, tears in his eyes. And it's not just showing us the stars, it's teaching humanity how to grow, how to survive, how to explore responsibly. The galleon pulsed gently, as if acknowledging their understanding. Leora felt a connection to the ship, a bond that transcended words. It had guided them through storms, tested their courage and unity, and now offered them a future filled with possibility. As they traveled through the currents of cosmic energy, the galleon revealed more of the ancient civilization's knowledge. It showed them how to harness energy safely, how to navigate the flows between stars, and how to communicate with other intelligent life without causing harm. Every lesson was subtle, intuitive, and designed to cultivate wisdom as much as skill. This is what the trials were for, Leora said quietly. Not just to test us, but to prepare us. Humanity has been chosen to take the next step. We are part of something greater. The crew worked together, learning, experimenting, and adapting. Each member discovered strengths they hadn't known they possessed. Soren's precision and caution balanced Leora's intuition and courage. Kale's knowledge and insight complemented the practical skills of the engineers and scientists. The galleon guided them gently, allowing them to grow while ensuring their safety. Hours or perhaps days passed. Time felt different in the currents of energy, as if measured not by clocks but by understanding and growth. The crew realized that the galleon had done more than test them. It had expanded their minds, awakened their potential, and shown them a path forward. Finally, the galleon brought them to a calm region of space, a place where the energy currents converged into a stable, radiant flow. Here, the stars shimmered with gentle light, and the vastness felt welcoming rather than threatening. The galleon paused, its sails glowing warmly, as if signaling the end of their journey. Leora turned to her crew, pride swelling in her chest. We did it. Humanity has passed the trials. The galleon has taught us, guided us, and now, it leaves the choice in our hands. We can take what we've learned and continue, or return to the known world, stronger and wiser. Dr. Kale smiled, eyes shining. We have seen what's possible. We cannot go back unchanged. Humanity has a place in the stars, and now we know how to reach it. Soren nodded slowly. And we know that we are ready. Whatever dangers lie ahead, we can face them together. The galleon has shown us that. The galleon pulsed one final time, a gesture of farewell and trust. Slowly, it turned away, moving silently back toward Thalassa, leaving the shuttle and its crew free to chart their own course. The ship had become their mentor, their guide, and their symbol of potential. Leora gazed at the horizon of stars, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. Humanity had taken its first true step into a larger universe. The galleon had chosen wisely, and now it was their turn to honor that choice. Set a course for the nearest star system, Leora said, voice steady. We carry the legacy of the galleon, and we will not squander it. Humanity's journey has only begun. The crew worked together, setting the shuttle on its path. Each member felt a renewed sense of purpose, understanding, and unity. They had been tested, guided, and awakened. Now, they were ready to explore, to learn, and to grow beyond the boundaries of their world. The twin suns of Thalassa disappeared entirely, leaving the stars to shine in their full glory. The galleon's glow faded into the distance, but its presence lingered in the minds of the crew, a reminder that courage, intelligence, and unity were the keys to greatness. As the shuttle moved steadily through the cosmic currents, Leora smiled. Humanity had been given a gift, a chance to rise above its limitations, and she knew, with unwavering certainty, that they would honor it. The ancient galleon had moved against the tide, silently guiding them. Now, humanity would move forward, against the unknown, toward a future filled with infinite possibility. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and the crew of the Aurora's Edge sailed confidently into the universe, carrying the lessons of the galleon, the promise of humanity, and the hope of a destiny that reached far beyond the seas of Thalassa.